The religious right, or what many people call Christian nationalism today, is really about a political identity. It's not about theology.
Mm.
It's not a religion. It's definitely not Christianity. Its leaders actually insult often Christian leaders and Christians who emphasize the social gospel, which is how most Americans understand their faith. So it rejects the principles of equality and pluralism. And Trump is frankly the perfect leader for an authoritarian political movement.
Donald Trump has emerged as a kind of spiritual figurehead for the party. So, how did it get to this point? And as someone who has arguably led a, well, let's say, less than Christian like life, why has Trump become so popular with the religious right? Well, let's speak now to Katherine Stewart, American journalist and author of The Power Worshippers Inside the Dangerous Rise of Religious Nationalism. Katherine, thanks so much for giving us your time.
Thanks so much for having me.
Catherine, do you see a change in the discussion around religion and the Republican Party since that assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life?
It's really a major reinforcement of an ongoing talking point that Trump is anointed by God. To put it in context, we have to say we've had 8 years now or more of leaders of this religious right movement saying that Trump was sent from on high. He might not be a godly man, but he's God's man. He's our Cyrus, who was foretold in the Bible. And a sector of this movement has consistently framed the contemporary political landscape as one of spiritual warfare, with Trump on the side of angels and Democrats literally on the side of the demons. So this assassination attempt, however it was motivated, is really being used to reinforce that narrative.
Now, does it has it always been thus, Catherine? We know that pretty much every president has had some sort of Christian belief. I believe Joe Biden's one of only two Catholics, JFK and Joe Biden, as presidents. Has spirituality around politics increased? And what does that tell us about the political conversation in the US?
It absolutely has increased. We're not really dealing with the old religious right of the moral majority, which often cast itself as really just preoccupied with a few cultural issues like abortion and same-sex marriage, and said they really just wanted a seat at the table in a noisy form of American democracy. They just really wanted representation. Now the movement has really evolved thanks to investment in the infrastructure of the movement over the past 40 years. And it's really after power, not just representation.
Also, a lot of people might be thinking, well, hang on, the whole idea of Christianity is love thy neighbor, the rules apply to everybody, but it seems that we're seeing one of the most fractious run-ups to an election we've ever seen in American politics. How does that fit with the religious beliefs of both Democrat supporters and Republicans?
That's a really great question. And I think to understand that movement, we have to understand that it has evolved over time into an explicitly anti-democratic movement. It's a leadership-driven movement. It's not driven by the agenda really isn't set by the rank and file. And the leaders want a whole range of types of power that Trump has delivered for them. Part of the support for him, of course, is transactional. He promised and to deliver to them the Supreme Court justices they wanted and lower, federal justices, unprecedented political access to taxpayer money for their religious organizations, and certain policies that privilege them. But there's more to it than that. The religious right, or what many people call Christian nationalism today, is really about a political identity. It's not about theology.
Mm.
It's not a religion. It's definitely not Christianity. Its leaders actually insult often Christian leaders and Christians who emphasize the social gospel, which is how most Americans understand their faith. So it rejects the principles of equality and pluralism. And Trump is frankly the perfect leader for an authoritarian political movement because he represents the authoritarian impulses of his supporters.
And is that why? I mean, I'm particularly struck by what you said there, that it's actually very little to do with religion itself. It's more of a political movement because for a lot of people, Christians or other, it seems slightly strange that perhaps with some of the claims that Donald Trump has made, I'm talking about the Access Hollywood tapes, we all know about them, we don't need to repeat them, that can go hand in hand with someone who is very religious, thinking that he is somehow chosen by divine intervention, or religious people looking at Trump and thinking, yes, this is someone who abides by my set of principles and rules according to my religion. So you think it's actually these people are not talking so much about religion, more about a political movement?
Listen, I think sometimes it's easier to see when it's happening in other countries. When we look at uh, leaders in Iran, for instance, or when we look at Erdogan in Turkey or Putin in Russia, when these leaders want to consolidate a more authoritarian form of political power, they'll surround themselves, like bubble wrap themselves. Um, when in sanctimony, they attach themselves very tightly to ultra conservative religious leaders in their own countries in order to consolidate a more authoritarian form of political power. And they do it to guard against investigation of their own corruption and cronyism and abuses they may be perpetrating against their own people. And that sort of helps us understand why Trump's rhetoric is so divisive. Um, in speech after speech after speech, he will say things like, our foreign enemies are, may be dangerous, but the real enemy is the enemy from within. And basically targeting anyone to the left of him or anyone who doesn't support him, including, by the way, a number of moderate Republicans or representatives of the old sort of Republican Party. They call them rhinos or Republican in name only. So they cast anyone to the left of them, not just as, a loyal opposition, but often literally as satanic or demonic under the control of Satan. And it's a real way of, this is a form of reactionary nationalism. It's a way um, of saying who properly belongs in the country and who doesn't. And it's really not theology that's the dividing line here. It's really political identity. The religious right often accuses the left of playing identity politics, but frankly, they play them harder.
Katherine, fascinating. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Katherine Stewart, American journalist and author of The Power Worshippers Inside the Dangerous Rise of Religious Nationalism.
This is my 9th time speaking at this event, and I would not miss it for anything. We have a big rally tonight in Philadelphia, and so somebody said they got a little bit confused and they had me speaking here and there. But now we are a nation in serious decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, willpower, and strength. We are a nation that has lost, quite simply, its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America free again. And we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.